Hey everyone, welcome to another InStudio session. Today I'm joined by Jess and we are doing some jump shots with some blurriness. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a technique where we use constant lights to get the blurriness, and we're going to use some flash to create that frozen look when Jess jumps in midair. What we're doing for this is, for the actual photograph, we will have to turn all the lights off because it needs to be about a 2-second exposure to make that shot work. So there won't be much video footage of the actual shoot, but what we'll do at the end is we'll fake it a little bit just so you guys can see how the shot's done. But for this one, unfortunately, the video cameras will not film in pitch darkness. So what we're starting with is we have two constant lights. We have the light set up here. This is just a constant light. It's a Godox SL100. We've got the grid on it just to keep some light off the background. That's going to be shining straight across that set. And then on the other side, we have another constant light hiding behind this flash. This is just a little SL60. So what basically the point of these lights is, as Jess comes across the frame, the back of her is going to be lit with the 100 and the front of her is going to be lit with the SL60, and that gives us that blurred look. And we are going to adjust the power of these down so that they work well with a 2-second exposure. Being a 2-second exposure, we actually don't need a lot of constant light, purely because that 2-second exposure will actually brighten things up. And I don't want the blurred motion to be really bright and powerful. It's just a hint of blurriness, and then it's the frozen jump shot that we're going to have nice and bright. So for the frozen shot, we are using two lights. This one is the Einstein, it's the 640. I'm using the Einstein and the Godox AD600 purely because of the short flash duration that they have. So what we're going to do is, this one has the softbox on it as well. We've got two softboxes. They are going to fire from both sides just to light Jess evenly as she makes that jump. So these will fire sort of just for a sec, and then Jess will exit the frame accordingly. So that's the 4 lights that we're using. So we'll get the shot set up. I'll sort of talk through a little bit of the setup itself, but as I said, for this particular one, a lot of the actual shooting that we're going to do will be pitch black. So, but yeah, I'll show you the behind the scenes anyway. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just meter the flashlights, because that's really where we want the exposure to work for us. And the technique we're using for this, just to make it easier with timing and with precision, and just because of the fact that Jess is still moving, we're not worrying whether we have front curtain sync or rear curtain sync. I will be firing the flash myself manually as Jess is literally mid-jump, and then the long exposure is going to keep going until Jess exits the frame. So we've got that entry, flash for the picture, and the exit. The only time you need to worry about front or rear curtain sync is if you're doing a photo where the flash either starts or ends your exposure, which is not the case for us in this shot. So what we're going to do is I am going to set my ISO to 64, which is actually the lowest native ISO of my camera. And again, the reason for that is because we're needing to do like a 2-second exposure. Even with all the lights off, we are going to have a lot of light bleed coming in after 2 seconds. So we're going to set my light meter to 2, and then let's do Jess is going to be jumping around there. That is at F11. What I'm going to do is just meter this light, which is at F10, and meter this light, which is at F9. That should actually work really nicely for us as a bit of a balance. So again, because Jess is jumping this way, I don't mind this light being slightly brighter than this one because she'll be facing that way. So that's just giving us some back illumination. So what we're going to do here is at F10, we're just going to do a quick test shot and see if we're freezing just nicely in midair, and then we'll slow down the shutter speed for the long exposure for the lights. So, and again, for these test shots, I don't really care what my shutter speed is, because shutter speed doesn't affect flash, it only affects ambient light. So it's the ambient light for the long 2-second blur shot is where we need to worry about it. So let's get that shot now tested and see how it turns out. All right, so what we'll do is I'm just going to fire this. Can we just do a jump shot just so I can see whether these flashes are in the right spots, and then we'll change it up. So I'll get you to do that jump again. Okay, are you ready? I need to zoom way out. I am way too close. Can I have that jump once more? Yep. All right, 3, 2, 1. You're probably loving the jump. All right, ready? Yep. That's better. Look at that lighting. All right, cool. So we've got just all lit up, which is great. Both hands are lit up. Remember last time we were getting that hand was quite dark. So that's really nice. So what we're going to do now, with the lights turned off, is let's get all these lights off. So as you can see, we've got the studio quite dark now. We're just working with these 2 lights. So we'll have the cameras still rolling. Hopefully we get a bit of video footage in the darkness as well. But we're just trying to get these lights turned down just so for a 2-second exposure, we're not getting too bright a studio and the background especially. So we're just tweaking with the the power of these 2 constant lights now, and then as soon as that's done, we'll get some great shots of just doing all sorts of jumps for us. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's cool. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's awesome. As a dancer, is that acceptable, or did you? All right, let's do one. Yep. Let's do it one more. 3, 2, 1. Like that. Excellent. 3, 2, 1. We've got to obviously judge these on the dance pose as well. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Thoughts? Yeah. All right, just come a step back for me. That's it. Ready? 1, 2. Judge it from a dance pose. All right, so that's our shoot. Hopefully you enjoyed that and you've learned some new tricks to get a similar style look. So the only thing we really did different to a typical blurred movement with frozen action is that I was firing the flash manually myself rather than having the camera do it. And that allowed us to have the entry and the exit out of the frame with the freeze in the middle. But other than that, if you want to have the freeze at the start or the end of the frame, just using front and reoccurred or reoccurred and sync and have the transmitter on your camera will do the same thing. I will be editing one of these photos straight after, so make sure you stick around for that. Thank you, Jess, for again being an amazing jumper, right on cue on the spot. And we'll see you guys at the next one.